Welcome to Crucial Conversations Season 2. Today we celebrate a matriarch at 50.
Pastor Jumoke Adeyemi was born on the 7th of April, 1970, to her then accountant father and secretary mother, Chief and Mrs. Isaac Olaore. Her parents were based in Sokoto State but had to journey to Zaria before her birth to avoid the outbreak of meningitis in Sokoto at that time. Pastor Jumoke fondly refers to this journey as the trip of Jesus to Egypt to escape the Herod of meningitis. Having spent her first 16 years in Sokoto, Pastor Jumoke was raised by parents who were volunteers in their local church, and they believed strongly in love, discipline, and hard work, which they constantly instilled in her and her siblings. The second of 8 children, Pastor Jumoke grew up in a home filled with love and developed a fierce bond of devotion with her siblings. She was an adventurous child who loved to try out different things for the first time before forming her personal opinion about such things. She loved to ride bicycles, she spotted a low cut, loved outdoor activities, and loved school. She's also one with an inquisitive and curious mind who never passed on the chance to ask questions or get information and knowledge from books, as she loved and enjoyed reading books. Her dad married a second wife, which exposed her to the challenges of living and growing up in a polygamous home. However, this did not break her spirit or dampen her amazing upbringing. Instead, it equipped her to be more sensitive towards others, which in turn prepared her for ministry and also played a huge role in her parental model. A lover of school and education at heart, Pastor Jumoke started her education in Sokoto at Model Primary School, moved on to Girls Secondary School Kwaturkoshi, after which she proceeded to Ilorin, Kwara State, where she continued her education at the State Polytechnic. In 1992, she graduated from the University of Ilorin with a Bachelor of Arts in English degree. She bagged a Master of Science in Personnel Psychology from the prestigious University of Ibadan in 1997. Her professional career started as an op-ed intern for Herald newspaper in Ilorin during her undergraduate studies. She also worked as an intern at Coca-Cola under the Human Resource Department in 1995. Pastor Jumoke grew up in an Anglican church where she got saved and involved in church at an early age. Like her volunteer parents, she began as a volunteer at Rama Chapel International, where she went on to serve in multiple roles, from resource manager to the Ministry of Secretary and to being Reverend George Adeboye's personal assistant. She also worked as regional manager for the George Adeboye World Outreach for a period of 3 years, 1992 to 1995. Her journey as a minister began when she became an associate pastor and the first administrator of Global Harvest Church in 1995, before becoming the director of administration for the entire Global Harvest Church ministry in 1995 until 2013. She went on to become the resident pastor of Global Harvest Church Ibadan from 2005 to 2007, and she ran a fashion boutique business from 2001 to 2008. Pastor Jumoke became the lead pastor of Global Harvest Church Lagos from 2016 until January 2021. The ever-passionate and self-giving matriarch, alongside her ministerial responsibilities, organized and led community development teams for Shop for Free, a poverty alleviation initiative, Future Builders International, a youth empowerment program, Night with the King, a youth outreach, and the Encounter Women's Retreat, a women empowerment program since 2009 till date. Pastor Jumoke continues to give of herself selflessly and willingly. Pastor Jumoke is married to her teen sweetheart, Reverend Victor Adeyemi. Her first daughter, Charlotte, was born in February 1994. Their second, Toyosi, was born July 1995. And the twins, Sharon and Arnold, in February 2000. Their 4 children are a huge source of inspiration and fulfillment, each of them thriving beautifully well in their professions. Charlotte and Toyosi are both happily married, blessing Mama and Baba, as they are fondly called, with 2 additional lovely sons. Pastor Jumoke is also a doting grandmother to Toluwalashe Jaden Oduyale. Today, we celebrate a strong and beautiful woman who passionately fights the good fight of faith, selflessly giving herself to those who need her, serving God and humanity. She has touched many lives, directly and indirectly. Her ministry has brought a sense of hope and strength to many and is a huge source of inspiration. This is why we call her Mama. She stands out as a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a minister, a leader, and a mentor. We celebrate Pastor Jumoke Adeyemi. We celebrate a matriarch at 50.
Wow, Mama, it's good to have you here today. Thank you so much for making our time to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm sure you know that we appreciate you a great deal. We celebrate you. I'm not sure we say it enough, but I hope we'll be able to do that a bit with this. For 50 years, it's been 50 wonderful years. At least I can say I've been impacted by you, I've been blessed by you, and it's been consistent. We just want to say we appreciate you a great deal.
God be praised.
We love you so much. And I'm sure all your children all over the world are saying that today. And we're grateful that we can celebrate this landmark, with you.
Thank you.
So, Mama, tell us, how do you manage the miracle, that's what I can call it, of being Jumoke Adeyemi? How do you balance being a wife, a mother, because you're a very detailed mother at heart, to your children, and then balance ministry, and then the diverse relationships, people you mentor, you lead? How have you been able to do that, over the years?
Okay, so, first of all, I would say grace. Because, like the scripture says, no one takes this honor unto themselves except they who are called. Because I looked at the responsibilities ahead of me and the responsibilities that have been endowed to me, and I know I cannot do it by myself or with my own might. And so daily I have to learn how to rely on His grace. So first, I would say grace, because again, if it's not the grace of God, trust me, it's difficult to mix and marry the various responsibilities of being a woman, your own person, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, a pastor, a mentor, a leader, and then have your life all together. And so in that capacity, you have to definitely rely on the grace of God. I depend on grace daily. Every day I ask Him, Father, your grace. And His grace is always super sufficient, even abundant, and if one can trust in God to endow you with grace daily, you're able to function in a large capacity beyond your human strength. And so people look at you and they like, how on earth is she coping? Trust me, it's not you, it's grace. Because at the end of the day, I like the analogy that Mommy Adeboye said to me one time. Many years ago, I went to see her at the camp, and she said, I was greeting her and I was wondering myself in awe of how she's able to cope with all the things that she does. And she said, my dear, it's God doing the work. He's just using us as a mask. The second one that helps him with the work-life balance in all of this is you realize that you're one individual with different manifestations and different functions. And so comes in intentionality. You have to intentionally compartmentalize your life. That means when you're functioning as a wife, you concentrate on that. Because when I'm with my husband, I leave children intentionally out so I can focus on him and maximize that moment. Else, you would just realize that the day has gone by, you're not able to maximize some moments. It's important to intentionally get carried away with the euphoria of that particular moment, enjoy that moment, and then when you're functioning as a mother, so when I'm attending to my husband, I focus on that. When I'm attending to my children, I focus on that. So like when my children were young, it was tough. Trust me, it was tough. It's a lot easier now because even we are empty nesters right now. We don't have anyone at home. So it's just us. But in our journey, we've had the different seasons of life. Like I always teach women that there are different seasons in a woman's life. So you have the season where, you know, you're that youngster, that young lady, you don't have anybody in your life. And then the season where you were newlywed, where you're going through the adjustment phases, the molding phases, the bonding phases and all that. And then comes the children. The moment the children come into your life, everything changes. So when that happened for me, it was tough because nobody prepares you for some eventualities in life, like most women would tell you. And when these little ones come, they change your world. However, because we are in ministry, or we're in ministry and still in ministry, as the woman of the house, I had to, you know, intentionally make time for my children, lock everybody out. Because again, I did understand that a moment would come when I would not have that time with them again. Yes. They would outgrow that stage. So for every stage of their growth, it was intentional that I was present. I didn't want to be a mother who was missing in action. I didn't want to be a MIA mother. So I made time intentionally. I made time for church work. And there was a time when I would be straight with you. As you know, I wasn't doing church work. There was a season in my life where I had to withdraw because I knew that my husband was in the forefront. And at that moment, those were the formative years of our children. And I had to be there. So I intentionally withdrew to take care of them, to nurture them. And when that season came, when the first two could effectively take care of the twins, I moved in to do ministry again. And it was a lot of turbulence, you know, because
that's what I was going to say.
Yes.
That did you struggle with withdrawing? You know, is it that easy? You know, that times because you're like, the man is still out there on the forefront, or this is something you're passionate about, this is a call, you're on a roll, there's already a momentum, and at one point you need to, because it's a sacrifice, and it's a choice. How did you deal with that?
Well, you know, I always knew that ministry is ahead of me, and there'll be many more years to do ministry. And because there'll be many more years, I did also understand that this season of the life of my children was critical for their upbringing and for what they become in the future. So it was important to me that, oh, okay, so I have the rest of my life to do ministry. I can as well do this now. Because, see, there is a time when you just have to focus on doing certain things, because if you lose that moment, that's just it. I mean, today will never replay itself exactly the way it is for the rest of our lives. Yes, I realize that every day is the first day of the rest of my life. So it's important to take the day seriously and to take every season serious. That was a season in my life, a season of silence. But in that season, it's very important to also notice that God taught me a lot. Raising my children helped me to also understand how it is that sometimes in raising people spiritually, they fall, they rise. Your children will fall, you pick them up. There are times to scold them, there's time to embrace, there's a time to love, there's a time to refrain. So all that also teaches you what it is that you would experience in ministry. Yes, it was a sacrifice, but it was a worthy sacrifice. Raising the children itself, it's a ministry. I must mention that. And that's why I do not agree with the philosophy that says, oh, if you're a housewife, you're a disgrace. No, you're not. Because there are people who are called to be that, to raise a generation. And it's not written anywhere in scripture, for instance, that Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ, wrote a book. She never authored any book. She never preached one sermon that we heard of or that was recorded in scriptures. Not at any time did she plant a church. But she was there to raise Jesus Christ. And what an investment, what a ministry. So there are ministries behind the scene, and there are ministries up front. Yes. So like David said, both those of us who tarry by the staff and those who go to war would part alike. Everybody has their place yes. and their rewards. So that season in my life, I had to resonate with that. I had to, come to terms with that and intentionally stay there. Why? Because my husband was traveling a lot. He was preaching a lot. He had a lot of itinerant ministry apart from church. And so in the event that all that was going on, I couldn't be missing in action in their lives. They needed a parent. They needed one of us to be there. Over all of this, over the seasons of life, what helped me keep balance is one, the grace. The second one is intentionality. The third one is focus. You just have to be focused to say, okay, so when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm home, I'm home. For instance, with my phone, all my work gadgets, it's important that we learn how to place a work-life balance, especially in this generation where everything is is about technology. We put everything, work and communication and relationship and everything on the phone. You don't have time because the whole of your life is taking. So there's some applications that are not on my phone at all, and that's intentional. And then for social media, I have the times I do social media. I'm not the kind of person that does social media 24/7. If you look at my social media platforms, there are times when I'm absent, there are times when I'm present. It's intentional because I want to have a work-life balance. I want to have a life. I want to enjoy my life while working. I want to enjoy the journey. And I want to be able to pay attention to the things that matter and that are critical per time. In focusing again, you would have to sacrifice certain things in some seasons. Say, for instance, I pastored for 4 years, hands-on as the lead pastor of the church, the Maryland Lagos church. And there were things that I couldn't do in those 4 years because I had to focus on building the church, raising the church, the people, the work itself, ministering to them, watering, and all that. And in that moment, I couldn't do a whole number of things. My travel itinerary was reduced because I had to focus on the church. Thankfully, our children were grown. All of them are adults now. Our last set of twins are 21 in a few days. So it's just about the grace of God, the intentionality you have to put into what you're doing, and being able to focus, per time, per season.
Wow, thank you, Mama. Thank you. So let me, because like I said, I don't know how we're going to compartment, and you just talked about compartmentalizing. So I want to focus on family life first. Do I have the permission to do that?
Yes, please.
What is it like being married to the one and only Pastor Victor Adeyemi for 28 years?
Yeah. Yes.
Just tell us what is it like? We want to hear it from you directly.
Okay. That question is a big one.